the civilian marksman. Hey everybody, I'm Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. In today's video, we're going to discuss long-range marksmanship, employment, use of precision rifles, and tactics used by civilians in a designated marksman / sniper role. But first, this camouflage is not supposed to be perfect. It's not supposed to be the most effective. I am showing camouflage acquired by civilians and things that civilians might use. Like my face covering here is just a scarf. Not trying to be perfectly camouflaged in this situation for this video. Another thing I really need to mention though, we talk about all this tactical stuff and guns and stuff like that. To be effective, we need to be properly prepared. One of the most important things for preparedness is antibiotics. Jace Medical. Go there, check them out. Asymmetrical 10 is your coupon code to save yourself some money. Antibiotics are going away. There's a lot of other prescription medications that they have. This is an amazing product. It's something that you gotta have. We might live or die by having this or not having it. So go to Jace Medical, links in the description below. Check them out, get yourself properly prepared. This is vital. So can a civilian be successful on the battlefield with a weapon system like this? It depends on a lot of factors. Might you still die? Yes, for sure. But you can be effective with a system like this, with a rifle like this, with some very, very simple camouflage like this. This system can be very effective. It is bolt action though. Rate of fire lacks. Makes up for it with range, accuracy, and power. Now I'm not on some fantasy that I'm Simo or Vasily from World War II out there taking down hundreds of people. 505 is how many Simo took down. But he was going up against people with equivalent arms. Bolt guns, it was World War II. Yes, they had machine guns and submachine guns, etc. But by and far, it was bolt gun against bolt gun. It's a lot different scenario today on today's battlefield. A lot more advanced systems. The chances of surviving any situation against an organized, technologically advanced adversary is very low. That doesn't mean that we don't need to be ready to be in the fight. First, let me get into the weapon system. What is this? This is a Remington 700 SPS Tactical, chambered in .308, has an 18-inch bull barrel. It is attached to Magpul Hunter stock, has the Magpul Bipod, a Vortex Viper optic, and a sling. Very simple setup, not too expensive either. One thing I like about it is the detachable box magazines. 5-round, it's the ACIS style magazine. So what is the most important thing to do if you want to be effective with a weapon system like this? You guys probably know what I'm getting at. Training and practice. Knowing this weapon system inside out and backwards. You need to have dope charts. You need to practice, practice, practice. You can be effective with a rifle like this. Definitely. Does it have limited use? Yes, but all weapon systems do. None of them are perfect. They all have their niche, they all have their strengths, they all have their weaknesses. This weapon system can be very effectively employed by a civilian in the designated marksman / sniper role, if so desired. One recommendation, if you're going to be building or equipping a bolt gun, spend twice as much money on the optic as you do on the rifle, at least. The optic is vitally important. Now I bought this gun set up like this. This is not the best optic. It's a Vortex Viper 4 to 16 power, second focal plane. I would prefer a first focal plane, so maybe someday I will replace this optic with a better one. But I like that it's an MOA, not mils or MRADs or anything like that. I like MOA, minutes of angle. That is 1 inch at 100 yards, 2 inches at 200 yards, etc. It has quarter MOA adjustments. That's pretty decent for this rifle. This is not a 1,200, 1,500, 1,600 yard rifle. This is a 1,000-yard rifle. More effectively, 800 yards. I would say with me operating this weapon system, I can be very effective out to 800 yards. This rifle is zeroed at 500 yards. Another thing I would recommend if you're setting up a bolt gun for this role is to get a decent bipod. This one is not the best. This is a Magpul bipod. It works. I would prefer other bipods, but for the price point, this is a good bipod. Just sling the arms down like that to employ it. Of course, if you're in a situation where you need to be quiet, then you don't just let it slam like that. You slowly put it down and you hold the button down, and then you let it go, and then you slowly release the button so it doesn't make any noise. Also, the arms are adjustable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're in a situation where one side's lower than the other, you can set up one side a little bit lower, say like this, have the rifle rest flat. Also, the bipod does rotate like this. So if you're on the side of a hill or something like that, you can adjust the bipod to be effective. You can preload this bipod. I'm not going to get into all that kind of stuff about preloading and all this stuff about really about precision marksmanship. This is going to be more of a generalized video, but get a good bipod and put your money into your Optic. The rifle itself, I believe these Remington 700 SPS Tacticals go for about $700 or $800. Not too bad for a decent rifle. And chambered in 308, is it the best? No, it's not the best. It has strengths and weaknesses just like any other cartridge. The reason why I like 308 is because I have a lot of it. It's a NATO caliber, and this is zeroed for M118 LR, which is a long-range match ammo. 7.62 by 51, of course, that's what it is because it's an M118 LR. It's a military cartridge. That's another thing, is if you're going to be employing a weapon system like this, get the best ammo that you possibly can. This is not a weapon system where you need to stockpile thousands of rounds. But another thing is the magazines. You need more than one, just like any other weapon system. Now, do you need 30 of them? No. I would recommend having maybe 4 to 6 of the 5-rounders and maybe 2 to 4 of the 10-rounders. Then you have options. Another thing that would help you be effective with this weapon system would be a drag bag, a sniper drag bag, and appropriate camouflage, etc. This rifle from the factory has a pretty decent trigger. Can it be better? Yes. I'm thinking about taking it to my gunsmith, my buddy. He's one of my MAG members, my tactical training group, and having him work the trigger a little bit. Or maybe put in a better trigger. The trigger is very important in a weapon system like this. You want to have a really good trigger also. Can you be effective with a stock trigger? Yes, you can. This is a very good weapon system. It is not the end-all be-all. It's not a 338 Lapua Magnum. It is not a 7mm Remington mag, 300 Win mag, or anything like that. Like I said, this is an 800 to 1,000 yard gun. Speaking of that, be realistic about your capabilities. A lot of people think that they could be a 1,000-yard shooter. Now, some of you may be. I've done a lot of shooting at 1,000+ yards. And let me tell you, the amount of training and practice that it takes to get actually effective at that distance is a lot more time and money than most people are willing to put into it. So I would recommend setting your sight to be a 600 to 800 yard effective shooter. As far as training goes, how do I recommend training with this particular weapon system? At range, of course, whatever range you want to zero it at, you need to make sure that it's on, that you're pulling those sub-MOA groups. I'd shoot for half MOA to MOA, which is what is MOA? Minutes of angle. That's basically shooting a 1-inch group at 100 yards. That's 1 MOA. But if you're talking 500, 600 yards, say 600 yards, like I recommended you try to be good at least 600 to 800 yards. 600 yards, that's 6-inch group. That's not that great. But if you're shooting half MOA, that's a 3-inch group. That's fairly decent. Okay, that's still right here. That's a good goal. But don't just shoot at your 0 point. Don't just shoot at 500 yards or 600 yards, whatever you're choosing to zero it at. You need to engage at a variety of ranges. You need to know on your optic where to hold for 100 out to say 700 or 800. One of the most important things you need to do is get good at reading wind. Wind really affects your bullet out at range. The further out it goes, the more it affects it. And wind may change between you and your intended target several times. You need to get good at looking at leaves, branches, grasses, all that kind of stuff. And that comes through practice and training. If you really want to be effective, it takes a lot of time to be effective at range, but you can do it. Building dope charts is very important. What is a dope chart? That's data on previous engagements. That is with your specific round, the exact same round every single time, not shooting M80 one time and M118 LR another time and then M118 special ball another time. That means the same cartridge every single time. The same cheek weld every single time. The same trigger squeeze every single time. The same breathing every single time. It's repetition and consistency that will make you a better shooter. Now that data on previous engagements, that's where you build your knowledge of where your holdovers are going to be for different ranges. Speaking of ranges, I also recommend once you get good at, say, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 out to wherever you want to go at those set ranges, that you start practice using unknown distances or distances between the 100-yard markers. That's very effective. And your ability to estimate range is very effective. Now, getting it up here with your eyes and your knowledge, estimating range, get good at estimating range. But you might want to have a laser rangefinder also so that you can dial that in. But EMP happens, maybe that's fried, batteries die, it doesn't work. That's why you need to get good at estimating ranges with your own eyes and your own skill set, your own knowledge. So estimating range is very important. Get good at reading wind, that is vital. Get good at all your set ranges, the distances in between. Know your optic. Know your rifle. Practice, practice, practice. And on the other side of things, it's not just about the weapon system. If you want to be effective in a combat type environment, as a precision rifleman, designated marksman, whatever you want to call it, then you need tradecraft. You need to learn how to move effectively through the woods, quietly, smoothly, with as little signature as possible. Movement, shine, noise, smell, all those kind of things. Mitigating those, getting good at moving through the woods, whatever terrain that you are in. You need to learn your area of operations, your AO, inside out and backwards. Knowing the area, knowing the lay of the land, use of micro terrain, use of macro terrain, military crest, how to set up hides, where are the best hides, where are not good hides. And more often than not, that hide that you think is good is not good, because that is the obvious place where everybody's going to assume somebody like you in that role would be. You need to be in places where nobody expects you. Really quick, I'll mention what a loophole is. A loophole is, say, you're shooting from behind a wall. You've seen in the movies where they'll have a little hole through the wall and they'll be engaging targets from there. Do you want your muzzle going through the wall? No, you don't. Do you want your muzzle right at the wall? No, you don't. You want as much standoff from that hole as possible and still be able to see everything you need to engage through the hole. The further back you are, if you have a sniper veil in front of you, it'll help protect you and keep you from being identified. There's a lot to this topic. I could go on forever about this, but I can't make the video that long. Well, I could technically, but I'm not going to. Practice and train in the real world environment. If you want to practice your tradecraft, moving through the trees, the bushes, the brush, all that kind of stuff, then get yourself set up the best you possibly can. Practice it a bunch yourself, but then take a friend out, have them set up glassing an area with binoculars, and have you try to approach to a certain spot, take a shot, and exfil, all while remaining undetected from your friend. That is a very, very good test of how good you're gonna be. But you need to do it in a variety of environments. If you just do it in like grasslands, well, that may not get you set up and give you the skill set to move through the woods, through the trees. That's why you need to practice and set your gear, your equipment, all your ancillary equipment up for your area of operations. Like I showed earlier in the video, that little leaf suit I had was not optimal for those woods. I should have worn my greener one. It's just my greener one is really green. I need to dumb it down a little bit for it to be effective. So getting back to how to become better, that is getting out and doing it. Same with anything. How do I become a better gardener? I get out and do it. If you want to be effective with this, you need to get out and do it. And like I've said in a lot of other videos, running around with an AR, doing the things, fitness. Snipers, designated marksmen still need to be fit. Just because you think that you're gonna sit somewhere and sit static and engage enemy, that your fitness doesn't matter. Well, let me tell you, that's wrong, because once your cover's blown, once they identify your location, getting out of there, exfilling, whew, yeah, then that turns into a whole other ballgame. There's a whole other skill set that you need to know. Escape and evasion, very important for somebody in this role to know also. That's also knowing your terrain. That is identifying everything you possibly can about your terrain. Reconnaissance, intelligence, very important. So to wrap it up, I recommend that you guys get out there and train as much as possible to be as effective on this weapon system and other skill sets so that you can possibly survive for a little bit longer than you would if you don't. Have a wonderful day and blessings to you and yours.